Gita classes. Today we are going to be covering chapter 1 entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. And we are going to be speaking on text number 15, 1.15. Okay? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. So chapter 1, text 15. Panchanjanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Panchanjanya Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Panchanjanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Adaji. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Okay, word for word translation. Panchajanyam, the conch shell named Panchajanyam. Rishikesh, Krishna, the Lord who directs the senses of the devotees. Devadattam, the conch shell named Devadat. Dhananjaya, Arjuna, the winner of wealth. Pondram, the conch named Pondram. Dadmau, blue. Mahashankham, the terrific conch shell. Bhima Karma, one who performs Herculean tasks. Vrika Udara, the voracious eater. Bhima. Translation and pervert by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktidatta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Pondra. Purport. Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesha in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. The impersonalists cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. The Lord, situated in the heart of all living entities, directs their senses, but he directs in the terms of the surrender of the living entity, and in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna, and thus his particular name of Rishikesha. The Lord has different names according to his different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudana because he killed the demon of the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudev because he appeared as a son of Vasudev. His name is Devaki Nandana because he accepted Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashoda Nandana because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda at Vrindavan. His name is Partha Shanti because he worked as a charity of his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Rishikesh because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjay in this verse because he helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. Similarly, Bhima is known as Vrikodara because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks such as killing the demons Hidimba. So the particular types of conch shells blown by the different personalities on the side of the Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there were no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Director, nor that of the Goddess of Fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was a message announced by the sounds of the conch shell. Okay. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. So in this verse, there are so many names that have been given. There's a name given for Krishna, which is Rishikesh. Another name that is been given for Arjuna is Dhananjay, and for Bhima is given Vrikodaraha. So there are so many names that have been given to different people based on different activities that they have performed in their life. So who is actually saying this verse? Who is saying this verse? 1.15. Sanjay is saying it. Okay? Why is he saying it? He's saying this verse because Dhritarashtra had asked in the first verse, Mamaka Pandavas Chaiva, what are my sons doing and what are the sons of Pandava doing? So then Sanjay gives an account of whatever happened on the Kaurava side of the army. He gave an account of what Duryodhana was speaking to Dronacharya, and it ended with Bhishmadev blowing his conch shell. And now Sanjaya now describes the Pandava, that Pandava side of the army. So he started his discussion in 1.13 and 14 that in text 14, when he starts the description of the Pandavas, he says actually first Madhava Pandavas Chaiva. He doesn't actually start with the Pandavas. Before the Pandavas, he says the word who? Madhava. So already you can see Sanjaya is a devotee of the Lord. So before he even starts to describe the Pandava side of the army, the first person that he talks about when he sees the Pandava side is Madhava. And we already saw that Duryodhana has not even mentioned Krishna even one time. Even he mentions Arjuna, on whose chariot Krishna is sitting in front of him. So Duryodhana could see him, but it did not register in his consciousness to consider Krishna to be a worthy opponent, just because Krishna decided that he is going to be a non-combatant. But Sanjaya knows that the most important person in that other side is Krishna. And so when he starts speaking about the Pandava side, the first word he says is Madhava. And then he goes to the Pandavas Chaiva. And again, in this verse, he starts with Panchajanyam Rishikesho. He starts with the name of Rishikesh. He starts the name of Krishna. So all of this just goes to show that Sanjaya's focus is on Krishna first. And so this is a glimpse of Sanjaya's mood of being a devotee. And it gets kind of confirmed in the last 5 verses of the Gita, when he's giving his glorification and his opinion at the end, that I think that wherever Arjuna and Krishna is, that's where all opulence is, that's where all victory, all power, all morality, all of this is there on the side of the Pandavas, just because Krishna is there with Arjuna. Okay? So even it shows the importance of Krishna, because when that God has got so many names. In fact, many people say that God cannot have any name. And it's true to a certain aspect, that God doesn't have a permanent name. But he has many different names based on the different activities that he has performed, right? So he's given a whole list that there's Madhusudana, there's Devaki Nandan, Nandanandan, Parthasati, yeah, Giridhari. All of these are names of Krishna which are related to different roles that he's taken. He's also called as Ranchodrai, the one who left the battle or left the desert. So you've got all these different names of Krishna which are related to the activities and leelas that he has performed. But now which is better name than the others? And so there's a gradation of names of Krishna. There are certain names known as primary names and certain names known as the secondary names. Now the primary names are those names that are related and are transcendental. They are related with Krishna, with his devotees. And then there are other names which are not transcendentally related, but they are on the material level, like Ishwar or Brahman. These are also names of Krishna, but they are not on the transcendental level. They are explaining Krishna's position in relation to the material world. Okay, so there is two types of names: primary names, secondary names. The chief of all the names is Krishna, because Krishna denotes all attractive. And again, we know this that Bhagwan is full of six opulences, and because he possesses all the six opulences in full, he becomes attractive for every single one. So no matter who you are, whatever your attraction point is, one of your attraction points will be in one of the six opulences, but Krishna is the possessor of all of them, and so he is the all attractive one. Okay? Now this word Rishikesha, which level does it fall under? Because we understand from the Srimad Bhagavatam that the absolute truth can be understood in three different levels. Yes, it says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 11, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattam yai nanam advayam brahmeti parmati bhagavan iti shabhyate. So there are three levels. There is the Brahman level, the Paramatma level, and the Bhagwan level. So the Brahman level is the impersonal level, the Paramatma level is a localized level, and then there is a Bhagavan level, which is the personal level. And the way that has been explained in the Vedas is that these three levels are comparative to the sun rays, the sun planet, and the sun god. So the sun rays are like the Brahman, then the localized form is the sun planet, and the presiding deity that rules the sun planet is the Lord of the Sun, which is Vivashwan. That's the name is given in the Vedas, that the sun god's name is Vivashwan. And all these three refer to different aspects of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita, as you said, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Vigraha means form. What type of form? It is a form of Sat Chit Ananda. At the Sat level, it is comparatively to saying that you have understood him at the Brahman level. Then you got the Sat and the Chit aspect. Once you understand these two, you have understood the Brahman level as well as the Paramatma level. And if you understand all three, Sat Chit Ananda, then you have understood the entire absolute truth in its totality. So now this word, or these three aspects, they seem to be contradictory. But Bhagwan and Krishna is all three simultaneously. And this simultaneous oneness and difference is known as Achintya Veda Ved Tattva, that was propounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay? So the word Rishikesha, this is a name that is given at the Paramatma level. So what does Rishikesha mean? It means that he is a director of all the senses. So in the Gita, in chapter 18, text number 61, it is said, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridya Desha Arjuna Tishtati. So what does that mean? That Krishna Ishwar, is a controller, is everywhere, situated everywhere in every person's heart. Hriday Deshe Arjuna Tishtati. Right? So Krishna is known as the Supreme Ishvara. Again in the Gita it says in chapter 7, text number 7, Matha Parataram Nanyat, that God is always God. He is a supreme. There is nothing higher than him. Right? Many people say that how is Krishna God? We saw his childhood pastimes. But even in his childhood pastimes, when Krishna was a three-month old, he still had the power to kill Putana. So God is always God, no matter in what form he is in. So there is nothing higher than him. Right? Now we also have that we are also considered to be Ishwaras. That we are very limited Ishvara. We control only certain aspects of our life. We can control our home affairs, we can control our children, we can control our car and all that. But we are not the supreme controller. There is no one who is a supreme controller. The word supreme controller means that there is no one above him. And that can only be applied to Krishna. Even the, the first living entity in the universe, Lord Brahma, even he has to be getting knowledge from somebody. You'll be like, okay, here's the first one. Who is there to instruct him? But the first verse of the Bhagavatam, it says, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaya. That Krishna sits residing within the heart of Brahma, gave him all the knowledge. So this already means that Krishna was transcendental. He was not within the confines of this material universe because he gave the knowledge to Brahma within his heart. And if Brahma is the first created person, who is there outside to give him knowledge? There is no one. So that means that Krishna, as Paramatma, seated within his heart, gave him that knowledge. It even says in the 10th chapter, text number 10, Tesham Satatam Yuktanam Buddhi Yogam. One second. In 10:10. Tesham Satata Yuktanam Vajatam Priti Purvakam Adadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mam Upayantite. That he gives the knowledge from within. He gives intelligence to the person so that they can come to me. So the question is that we are not the controllers of ourselves, and all these abilities that we have got to utilize our senses, all of this has been given by Krishna. It is his permission with which we can utilize our senses. Now, for example, I have my voice, I have the ability to speak. But if I got a sore throat or if I'm paralyzed, I'll have the voice box, I'll have my throat, but I will not be able to speak. So that power to speak is given by Krishna. So this is the question now. That objectively, Krishna is always the controller. But now the subjective part is, now we can choose whether we want to be controlled by Krishna, whether we want to be of service to Krishna. And this is the meaning of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When we say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. What are we praying for? We are praying to the Lordships that please engage me in your service. That means whatever I have, let me utilize it in your service. Whatever ability that I have with my senses, let me utilize that to do something for you. Okay? Even it says in chapter 13, text number 14, Sarvatra Pani Padaste, meaning what? That Krishna has his hands and legs spread everywhere. What does that mean? That all of us have our own hands, we all have our own legs, and so our senses, we all have the same senses. And Krishna, seated within as Paramatma, has access to all the hands, all the legs. So he is everywhere, he is all pervading in that sense. Yeah? So our senses and body are actually owned by Krishna. Now we have a choice whether we use it for sense gratification or we use it for Krishna's sense gratification. If we use it for our own sense gratification, that is the path of the demonic. And if we choose the path of utilizing our senses for Krishna's satisfaction, then we are considered to be devotees. Yes? Or the atheists and the theists. Another layer to this, for the atheist side, is that we utilize Krishna for our own sense gratification. Right? One thing is to utilize the senses that Krishna has given us for our own pleasure. That is already atheistic. But another part of atheism is that when you are making Krishna to be your order supplier, when you are telling Krishna that you basically give pleasure to my senses. Yeah? There is this concept that God, please give us our daily bread. That is like you're basically ordering Krishna to, or God, to supply and give enjoyment to your senses. He is already giving so much free provisions to all the animals. If you go in safari, you'll see that there's so much grass available for huge elephants to eat, and they are eating tons of grass. Who is supplying them? Are they going to work for it? No, Krishna has already supplied all of this. So asking God to become our order carrier, our order supplier, that is not a very high level of spiritual maturity. Yeah, Krishna has already given so much provision, and actually we are all sons of God. It says, yeah, in chapter 15, text number 7, that Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, that we are all parts and parcels of Krishna. That not only means the human beings, that means all living entities. And in this world, everything has been given to sustain every living being. Yeah, you know, in this world there is this concept that whatever is the father's property, when the father passes away, then that property is equally entitled to all his sons, right, and all his children. So like that, this entire world is owned by Krishna. Everything in this material existence is basically made from the energies of Krishna. He says in chapter 7, text number 4 and 5, where Krishna describes all the 8 different energies that are his: earth, air, water, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. All of these are his energies. And from that, the entire material universe has been created. And that is why it says also in chapter 5, verse number 29, that Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarve Loke Maheshwaram. That he is the owner and he is the enjoyer of the entire material universe. Right? It's not that we are owning this. We came into this body with nothing, and we are going to go with nothing. We are not the proprietor of anything. The actual proprietor is Krishna. And because this is Krishna's property, and all of us are his sons and parts and parcels, then that means that this world has to be shared in a way that is equal to every living entity. Now, if one son takes over the space and right of another son, would he not be considered a thief? Yes? He would be considered a thief. And so even in the Ishopanishad, in the first verse of the Ishopanishad, it is said that one person must understand what is his and knowing full well who the rest of it belongs to utilize whatever is needed for his own purposes, right? Even in the Bhagavatam, Sukdev Goswami, he says a very beautiful verses that goes to show that what is the need of going to go and get clothes when you can just have a tree bark? What is the need of getting a bed when you've got your arms as pillows and the earth as your bed? So there's no need to so much extra endeavor, because you have to utilize whatever valuable time we have in this human form of life to try and uh, realize the Supreme, to become spiritually 100% perfect in our understanding, in our realization that we are actually devotees and servants of the Lord, and we have to be engaged in a loving relationship, right? So we have all of these understandings of the word Rishikesha. And the word Rishikesha means that we have to understand that Krishna is the Lord of all senses, and we have to take it voluntarily that we want to act according to the directions of Rishikesha, not that we want him to become our order supplier. And this is how Arjuna was. Arjuna was utilizing his senses to please Krishna. Krishna wanted the war to happen, and Arjuna became an instrument for Krishna to be able to do the war. And because he did this, Krishna had declared that you are my devotee and my dear friend. Yeah, I don't think so. Arjuna was doing Mara on the battlefield. No, he was fighting. He was utilizing his entire abilities and skills for whose service? For Krishna's pleasure, for Krishna's service. And that is why he is considered to be a great devotee. Similarly, there's so many other names that Arjuna is called Dhananjaya. So now the word Dhananjaya has got two meanings. There's a material meaning and a spiritual meaning. Now the material meaning is that, as Prabhupada said, that he had attained so many riches for King Yudhishthira to perform so many yajnas. But the spiritual meaning is that Arjuna had the wealth of spiritual knowledge. He had the wealth of devotion, and that is why he was considered to be Dhananjaya. And then we have got Bhima, which is known as Vrikodhara. Vrikodhara is a combination of two words. Vrik, meaning a wolf, and Udara, meaning belly. Now, a wolf is considered to be not a nice creature, yeah. But the good thing about the wolf is that it has, although it's small in size, but its appetite is huge. It's got a very huge appetite. So Bhima is named Vrikodhara because he had a huge appetite. But then what did he do with that appetite? He utilized his extra food he was eating to perform Herculean tasks in the service of who? In the service of Krishna. So Prabhupada ji had said that anyone who cannot have a control over the stomach, they should take Bhima as the Acharya. Because you follow Bhima, you can eat so much, but then don't sleep after eating so much. You need to also perform more and more service, just like Bhima did. And if we said that, like one time when Draupadi came to, and she was married to the 5 Pandavas, and Kunti Maharani was teaching Draupadi of how to serve the 5 Pandavas. He says, whatever food you gather, first divide it into 2 parts, half and half. One half is for Bhima, and the other half we'll divide it in 6 different ways now. Because before it was 5 for the mother and the 4 Pandavas, and half was already for Bhima. So hearing this, there was a light laughter between Draupadi and Kunti Maharani, that how much does Bhima even have? And he was so strong that he could defeat people so much, like he defeated Hidimba, as it says in the purport, that one time after the Lakshagra incident happened, and then Bhima carried all his four brothers and Kunti Ma on his back, and he took everyone out of the Lakshagra. That is how strong he was. And when they escaped, then they decided to be hidden. And while they were hidden, they entered into a mystical forest, which was run by ogres. And then one of the ogress was called Hidimba. And Hidimba's job was to lure the Pandavas and Kunti Maharani to the village of the ogres. And she was the sister of the ogre king Hidimba. Now Hidimba was very, very strong. And then there was a fight, a duel between Bhima and Hidimba, and Bhima killed him very easily. And seeing this, he became the king of the ogres, because whoever kills the king of the ogres becomes the next king, and the wife or the sister of the previous king becomes the wife of the current king. And so that is how Bhima and Hidimba got married, and they had the son called Ghatoshkach, whose son was Barbarik. Yeah. So we have this pastime. Also, there's another time when the Pandavas were hiding in the Virat kingdom, and there was a fight going to happen, and so Bhima was so angry that he was approaching a tree, a very big tree, to just rip it over and throw it at the Kauravas. So he could utilize his strength to rip out a huge tree and just pick it up and throw it at the Kauravas. But then Yudhishthira Maharaj said, don't do that. If you do that, you will reveal yourself, because no one else in the world can do what you're about to do. So this is just different examples of Bhima doing such Herculean tasks. So that is why his name was given as Bhima Karma Vrikodhara, the performer of Herculean tasks and the one who's got a voracious appetite. So I think in the next few verses we will keep on continuing all the Pandavas, and then finally we come to the crux of the issue, where the movie will now focus on the middle, where Krishna and Arjuna are going to start speaking. So anyone has any comments? Any questions? Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.